I've been coming to North Shore Unitarian Church for just 10 years now. Most of you know me as my role over on the piano, as pianist for services and accompanist for the choir. Through my time, as many of you I'm sure experienced the same, I've developed my favorite services, one of which we had just a few weeks ago, which was the flower communion. I love how people bring from home a flower that they leave in the foyer, and somehow, miraculously, these are turned into the most exquisite bouquet. If you left me with that job, I'm not sure what it would look like, but it's always just a visual treat, and I am always feeling that it's such a shame that it doesn't last very long, because then we take those flowers home, which is also a lovely gesture. But for a short period of time, we have something is exquisitely beautiful that's brought together by everyone here. Another of my favorite services is the coming of age service, where 13-year-olds get up and explain to the congregation what it is they believe, whether or not they believe in God or fate or having a purpose that's predetermined. It's quite amazing how 13-year-olds can be so articulate. And I've often wondered, if I were put on the spot, could I do such a fun job? So that every year makes me ponder my own question about what do I believe. In May, Stephen Atkinson, our minister, had a service and sermon titled, "What is Spirituality Anyway?" And that one really resonated with me. He offered to us 5 concepts that were not to be treated so much as a checklist, but just something to ponder. Whatever your spiritual practice is, ponder how relevant these concepts are within that. So I was intrigued with that because I knew my credo, I'm sure, would include astrology somehow. But the concepts that Stephen offered to us made it very helpful for me to say that, yeah, I think I can say that astrology is a big part, if not all, of my spirituality. I don't want to say all, because that's too limiting, but a big part, certainly. So, before I touch on those words again that Stephen first presented to us, I have a little game. So, my little objects over here on the table are there to symbolize things. Astrology is a language of symbols, and a language of interpreting symbols. And my game for you, I have 12 items here that can symbolize things, and I want you to pair them up. There are ways where pairs of objects here can represent what I call 2 sides of the same coin. They can be very different, but they are connected somehow. So I want you to get your thoughts going, and I'm just going to switch microphones to introduce or show these little objects to you. So I'll start in the back row here. So a magazine, doesn't have to be Chatelaine, any magazine. The iPad, which is supposed to here show somebody on Facebook. The fire extinguisher, the laundry detergent, the bottle of wine, a rock, the sunflower, a passport, the piggy bank, the incense, the oven mitt. That's only 11. The toilet paper. So, how can we pair these? Anybody have any ideas? How can we match these items? They somehow go with one another. Yes, in the back here.
The oven mitt and the fire extinguisher?
The oven, that's a good idea. The oven mitt and the fire extinguisher. Sure. I don't. Does anybody need explanation? John.
I would say the rock and the passport. The rock being where you are grounded, where you are. The passport is moving away from that and going on travels and trips.
Oh, very cool. Yasha.
The Family magazine and the toilet paper.
The piggyback and the passport, because you usually need a lot of money to travel.
Okay. Sure. Yes.
The wine and the flower.
Sure. Wine and the flower. We often pair those up. Yes.
The magazine and the iPod.
Okay. Yeah. Yes.
iPad and the passport, because you could travel sitting at home using the iPad.
Very cool. Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
I was going to say the passport and the toilet paper.
Oh, maybe. I could tell you about my first trip to Mexico. Yes.
The flower and the incense.
The flower and the incense, certainly.
Oh, that's nice.
Yes.
I'd like to pair up the rock and the wine
Why is that?
because I see the rock as being nature and freeing me from the house.
This is the house.
And enjoy the greater
Yes. Yes. Are there any other ideas going around? Allison?
Incense and laundry soap, because they don't smell.
Okay. Yes.
The oven mitt and the wine bottle to
Which-
inspire. The oven mitt and the wine bottle
And
to
why?
inspire your cooking.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
How about the wine bottle and the fire extinguisher? Mine gets started and the fire extinguisher is
Okay, let's do a couple more. Yes.
The piggyback and the passport.
Piggyback, yes. Yes.
the incense and the wine.
Incense and wine. Sure. Yes.
The toilet paper and the laundry detergent. You're cleaning up.
Okay. All right. This is great because, yeah, these are symbols, and these symbols trigger meaning for you. And in doing so, it makes sense. It speaks to you of something. You can make a story of that. We could go into threes if you like, and you can say why these three things go together. Astrology works very, very much like this. I have picked these items as to represent each of the 12 signs. Some of you probably have clued into that or could guess. Let me just go through. What's the Aries sign? Or what's the Aries symbol? And I wonder if I should rearrange these or not. Maybe. I've chose the fire extinguisher for Aries. Because to me this is something that, you don't take your time. Here's a fire. Oh. You do this? No. If there's a fire, you pull the pin and use this. No time to think. You just get out there and do that. What is the Taurus symbol here? The piggy bank. Taurus likes stuff. Taurus likes to accumulate and gather things. Gemini. Could have been the iPad, but no. That was a good choice. The magazine. Gemini likes surface information. You don't have to read this in order. You can flip through. Your eye catches something. You turn a few pages when you go to something else. Cancer. The oven mitt is my symbol for Cancer. Cancer likes to be in the kitchen. Cancer likes to be in the home. Cancer is nurturing. This is preparing food not just for yourself, but for other people, your family, whom you love. And you're helping stay together in the home, content and safe. Leo. Absolutely. I'm a Leo. Sunflowers track the sun. Were you aware of that? And I just learned this recently. Daisies also do that. And the word daisy comes from day's eye. They track the sun. So the Leo energy loves to be noticed. loves to have that radiant sunlight coming in, but as well to be shared with others. And Leo appreciates when you share your own personal light. Leo loves integrity. So, say that about the sunflower. The Virgo. That was a good choice, but that's not the one I... So, this is, for me, this is the Virgo. Making things clean, putting them back to perfection as much as possible. Then we're now on to Libra. In a sense, it's a good choice, but I picked the wine. The wine for the Libra. I'm just thinking what's coming next. Wine for Libra because of partnership, wanting to share this, wanting to appreciate the tastes together, and perhaps the meal if this is associated with a meal, but that time together with someone special. That's what this symbolizes to me. Scorpio. No, wait a minute. I'm going to come back. I've gone halfway through. I've gone beyond half. I want to start pairing them up. And it's with their signs that are polar opposite. The Aries sign, Aries was the fire extinguisher. Hurry up, let's get it done. Libra is opposite. Let's take our time. Let's enjoy this time together. Libra is not going to be in a hurry to do anything. They just want to, well, how do you feel about this? So I find these two to be coupled. I'm going to skip something for the moment and go to the Gemini. Gemini, opposite Gemini on the wheel is Sagittarius. So which one of these is the Sagittarius thing? The passport. Sagittarians love to travel and explore, expand their horizons. So the magazine, so both of these have to do with learning. This is kind of Gemini kind of surface learning stuff. Sagittarian learning is a lot more in-depth and a lot more out there, willing to explore and get the real meaning behind it, not just the surface fluff. Cancer. Opposite Cancer on the wheel is Capricorn. That was the rock. I think it's easier for me to move this one. So, this to me is the home, and this to me is the mountain, the out there. This is what we do to feel grounded and safe. This triggers our ambition, to climb that mountain, to get to the top. So those two I like together. Cancer, Leo. The sunflower is about me. Oh, so do you see how these are connected though? Yes. The sunflower about me. Opposite the wheel is Aquarius. And Aquarius is very much about us and about community, connections with other people, with other friends. This is my symbol, I think, the Facebook thing. And I'll mention this because our last song of the service with Age of Aquarius. Facebook is a real symbol, I think, for the Age of Aquarius. One of the words is detached, that Aquarius energy can be. Where this wants, the integrity of the real thing, Aquarius is kind of removed. And it's interesting how, I thought how our friends, in quotes, on Facebook it's a different kind of friendship than real humans. And I thought also of like how we do our banking, so much as virtual. This whole virtual world, I think, is a symbol of this Age of Aquarius. So those two go together. The Virgo, opposite Virgo is Pisces. Pisces, the incense. I would pair these two together because this is more like spiritual cleansing, or a symbol of that. This is our physical cleansing. This is what we use to cleanse our environment. I'm not sure if some people would use it to cleanse an aura or anything. Does anybody know? Or just that concept of to open our imagination as well. So, this is about accumulating stuff, and this is about letting it go. Now, I'm sorry for anybody who's born under the sign of Scorpio. This is not intended to be a put-down or anything. But what I do want to say and bring to your attention is that we all have all of these within our charts. They are all part of our experience, our being. And now I'm going to come back over here. Any sort of thoughts or questions or response on that? Okay.
John, did you even his last sign?
Sorry.
I have a question.
Yes.
So if you're born on one sign, and your solar opposite is, you find it stronger than what the sign you were born in, is that possible?
I'm going to answer that over here. So the question is, whatever your sun sign is, wherever the sun was placed, is your polar opposite. You're asking if it's stronger or...
It's stronger.
That's a perfect segue into where I wanted to go next. Because we've done a little game here that involved astrological symbolism. We did it, it was kind of entertaining, I hope. It got you to think about things. But what I don't want you to do is to associate yourself with one item only. You are not just that one thing. Your birth chart is much more than your sun sign. The whole history of sun sign astrology is really kind of unfortunate. And that what most people, I think, believe about astrology is just what they see in the newspaper. And its roots are not very deep, and it's not very honorable, I don't think. Sun sign astrology actually started in 1930, when Princess Margaret was born. The newspapers wanted to do something a little different to announce the birth of this child, so that more people would buy this newspaper. And I'm sorry I don't know which one. I should know that. Do you know which one? Okay. So they hired an astrologer to do the chart for Princess Margaret and to share with the world what type of person she's apt to be. The ratings of that column or that newspaper, that so many people wrote in that they were so fascinated with this and they wanted more and more and more about this. So they had to figure out, well, what are we going to do next? So the astrologer that they hired to do this, R.H. Naylor is his name, for the following edition, or the following newspaper that came out a week later, he did by birthday. And so this was now in September. Princess Margaret was born in August. So he did in this one September, day by day. If you were born on September 24th, your year should be like this. Or this is what you're experiencing now. September 25th was something else. September 26th was something else. And that is using a practice of what's called solar return charts, which are quite applicable, I would say. And when I do consultations, I include solar return charts. They're very personalized. It takes the position of the sun when you were born, whatever degree it was in whatever sign. And when the sun actually returns to that same degree, a chart is cast for that moment, and you see what I call the flavor of the year. So in forecasting, it really does, I find, show a number of surprisingly interesting truths that come about, or potentials that come about. Anyhow, so this R.H. Naylor did these sun sign things, and he did the solar return charts. People loved it. They wanted more. So the following week he did that. I think he did that for the whole month of October as well. But that was just getting to be too much, and it was only targeting the people who were born on those specific days. So then they took a step even further backwards, and decided to do, well, let's just do for the whole sign. So it became, that's where sun sign astrology came about. Now, sun sign astrology sells newspapers. Advertisers love it if they can get their ad on the same page as the horoscope column, because so many people will purposely turn to that page. I have a friend who worked in advertising for a newspaper, I won't say which one, but she said to me that if the astrologer didn't get their column in time, they would just go back and reprint another one from a few years ago. So there's no guarantee that there's anything really valid in sun sign astrology from a newspaper, I'm going to say. But that being said, I also know some people who write these columns, and it's fun to see what they do to come up with this. That would be a fun course to do, how to write a sun sign column. They do actually do their very best to make it as valid as possible. And sometimes you will resonate with whatever you read. I'm saying this because I think we absolutely have a hunger to understand who we are. And we want some sort of language to help us. And when you fully explore astrology, it's fascinating and never-ending, I find, how it can explain things, if you like. So I like to ask myself and share with you, well, what do I think astrology is? One of the ways I like to explain it is, like, there's the clock up on the wall here. When that clock gets to about 12 o'clock, I'm hungry. That's my cycle. By 12 o'clock, I'm hungry. That clock, I don't believe, is making me hungry. I don't think there's any, force from that thing up there that's doing something to my stomach. It's just that that's measuring a particular cycle within me. I find the solar system to be an elaborate clock. And through our language of symbols that have been observed, documented over centuries, we are able to interpret those symbols into meaning. So astrology is like a clock, but it doesn't just tell us what the time is, it tells us the quality of the time. The quality of the time that is unfolding. Maybe it is a time to take action, the fire extinguisher. Maybe it is a time to settle down with family. Maybe it's a time to go explore the world, or a time to let go. But astrology will help just find those times. My work as a musician, sometimes I'm hesitant to let my music people know that I'm an astrologer, and to let the astrology people know that I'm a musician. I have Gemini on the midheaven, which means it's perfect for having two careers. So I can say that. But one thing I like about astrology, yes, it helps define the quality of time, and I think music seeks to recreate quality of time. Both music and astrology are based on patterns and cycles. We listen to music to take us back to a time sometimes, or a feeling, or a memory, an experience. There's something about music that has this great connection, this great, we respond to music in many ways. We can respond to it physically, emotionally, spiritually. Music has a great power to do that. Each repetition of music, though, if you listen to the same piece today, tomorrow, a year from now, even though the intention of the music is still the same, you as a listener may have changed in the process and may hear this music slightly differently. I like that expression, you can never step in the same river twice. You know that? The water has always moved, and so it's always a different experience. I like to keep that in mind. In the summer of 2012, so 2 years ago, I attended the Faculty of Astrological Studies summer school, and Thomas Moore was the keynote speaker. Some of you know him as the author of Care of the Soul. He also, one of his first books was The Planets Within. I was hired to be his assistant. I got to plug in his computer, get him water, stuff like that. I hung out with Thomas More for a week. That was wonderful. It was great. What I learned about him was that he was first a musician. He did a music degree. He still plays piano every day. He's a composer. Music is a big part of his life. He then went on to do work in religious studies. Well, I should say sort of before the music degree, he was actually in training to be a priest. From 13 years old, he was taken away into a boarding school kind of thing to become a priest. And eventually, he decided no, he didn't want that. But he then became a musician. After that, his next degrees were in religious studies and finally psychology. So it's great that he combines all those things together. Anyhow, it was from Thomas More that I learned about the 6th century philosopher named Boethius. That's Boethius, Boethius. So this is from the 500s, who said that there are 3 types of music. There's musica instrumentalis, which is music that we play on instruments. So that's the one I think we're all familiar with. There's musica humana, so human music. I thought this was going to be, okay, that must be singing. No, it isn't. Musica humana is your own music. Each one of us here has our own music through the course of our life. There is a time for each one of us to experience certain things according to our own schedule. There is a time when we are to be joyful. There is a time when depression can set in. And it's just like a piece of music that has different instruments coming in at a certain time. The conductor cues, the horns come in, depression sets in. Sometimes there's no real reason that you can think of, why am I so depressed right now? But it is a lovely comparison, I think, that our lives are our own music. There is a third type of music, and that is musica mundana, the music of the world, and the music of the planets. In their cycles as they move around the sun, have what can be tracked as a certain type of music. And sometimes our own personal music is triggered by the music that's happening. Sometimes we resonate. There are some days, some planetary configurations, if you like, that really resonate and will sort of trigger things in some people's charts and not concern others at all. So it's a very, very personal experience. I want to come back to the idea of spirituality and how, if astrology can fit spirituality. Stephen shared with us that one of the first criteria was mysticism, an experience of feeling greater than we think we are, and including a mystery and wonder of the universe. I do find that with astrology, I am always in awe of the universe and in a state of wonder. And I do feel connected to something much greater than I am. I see in the lives of my clients, as their music is being played out, that there's something that's absolutely fascinating with that connection. Reverence was the next word that Stephen gave us. Something greater than ourselves, worthy of attention. I do find to be an astrologer is to be quite a humbling experience, to translate the symbolism for people. I feel like that my role is to be the messenger, the one to share the musica mundana with the musica humana. So the planetary music, to translate that to an individual's life. Relationships. I find astrology is certainly something that makes me more aware of why I am the way I am, why other people are the way they are, and what's common, what's different. My moon sign is Virgo, Kevin's is Pisces. We have different ideas at home on how we do things. In the bathroom, if I can share this. In the bathroom drawer, my Virgo moon loves the little compartments we have to keep things organized in their place. Kevin sees a spot and puts something in it. Just like water likes to fill wherever it goes. Water will go there. So we're living with this difference, and because I know that about the astrology, I can accept that difference. And yes, laugh at it, and sometimes figure out, okay, I'm going to have to do my Virgo moon someplace else. So in some other area. Anyhow, astrology is great for relationships. Devotion. Stephen told us it was a profound dedication to something that we hold as worthy and that it may change over time. And astrology is certainly a field of study that you can change your belief about how something works. And this is not just this tropical Western astrology, which I've been playing with here, but any type of astrology requires a dedication to it and an openness that it may change. And the idea of duty, measures we must take and actions we must make if we are to be true to ourselves and to that which we revere. I find it's my duty to help translate this information for my clients, even if it's something that is uncomfortable, or what's the best way for me to say this? It still is my duty to come up with something for my clients. So I do believe that astrology does include those 5 areas: mysticism, reverence, relationships, devotion, and duty. So I think for me anyways, that is a big part of my spirituality. Just before I close, I'd like to thank Elizabeth for the nocturne at the beginning of the service. It was a lovely way to bring us into that nighttime atmosphere. The time when we start looking at the sky to see these patterns and pictures, and we start imagining things. I thought that was just perfect for the beginning of the service. So it is a little past my 13th birthday, but I know my credo would be that I believe that each person has a soul, and that each soul has its own music. I believe that we are all connected to the music of the spheres. And I believe as an astrologer, it's my duty to help people understand their own music, to celebrate it, and to cherish it.